all read the teachings of Jesus, right? Where he uses pictures and ideas to help convey thoughts and biblical practices that we should follow, right? So in that, the first picture I'm going to try to paint to you is obsession and love through the view of what a mountain and what mountain climbing looks like, right? And it came to me because I had read like a comic book type of thing about a dude who climbed mountains, a little nerdy, but it was about a guy who threw away everything in his whole life to just climb. And he climbed big mountains, small mountains. He just did everything with the unrelenting resolve to just climb. And it really spoke to me in a certain kind of way, because that level of obsession and love is something that it really like when I painted that and like real life climbing and compared it to our walk and the way we are supposed to move and the obsession and the love that we were called to have, it really helped illuminate many things to me. And I think it's a picture I'm going to try to paint to you that, and I hope it makes sense through verses and stuff. Before I get into it, this is something I'm going to speak to you guys. One thing that we have to understand is that before we get into the struggles of the walk, and this is something Mickey taught, I think it was last week or the week before, about grace and its undeserved, unrelenting power and how we don't deserve it, right? Before we get into any of this walk stuff, we have to understand that grace is a gift, an unrelenting, beautiful gift that we are given. We don't deserve to be even allowed to get up and walk with the Lord, right? We don't deserve that. Yet he died on that cross and he lived that life so we can. And now I'm going to be talking about the things and the things that we are called to do and the way that we are called to live after we have received that grace and the beauty that we are supposed to, like the beauty and the reverence that we're supposed to have for this cross in our walk, right? Obsession is a thing a lot of people in the world love. A lot of people like the idea of being obsessed with something. Like they like the idea of, like they like the idea of like a mad genius or a guy who throws away his whole life for one thing. Like people love that. Maybe musicians, artists, whatever. And people will flock to it, except for things that people can't understand. To a degree, everyone likes the idea until it starts becoming a thing that they can't comprehend why you would do it. No one can understand why a mountaineer climbs a mountain, because the cost of what it is so heavy that it doesn't make sense to most people why they would do it, right? The shadow of the mountain is so great, they don't understand how beautiful the peak is. They can't understand how beautiful the peak is and why someone would race to it, because the shadow that they see is too big. The lights down here are too bright. They don't understand what the heavens look like, so they can't understand why someone would shoot themselves up there. Right? A mountaineer has to give I'm gonna look at this through the guise of Everest, biggest mountain in the world. As a thing to climb Everest, you have to understand that it costs years of your life to train for it, right? You have to put in so much of your life just to be ready to climb it, and then after that, it's almost a year of nonstop prep. It costs a lot of money and it costs a lot of investment to begin to allow yourself to climb it. And the climb itself takes about 3 months to climb Everest. It's not like people think when they see these mountains and these people climbing, it's like, oh, maybe like a month, maybe like a few weeks. No, 3 months of dedicated Everest climbing where everything else is gone. And even before that, a year, 2 years of training just so they can have the physical prep, and they have to petition the government of the area. They have to do all these steps just so that they are allowed to get up there, right? It's costly. It's heavy. It doesn't make sense to most people why you would do that to climb something that looks like it's made to naturally kill you. It doesn't make sense to most people. Why would I go on this thing that seems so much obviously harder when I could just live normal life and enjoy the things down here? Why would I give up my youth? Why would I spend my youth, my 20s or my 30s, whatever, my teens? Why would I spend that time, instead of enjoying the fruits that I have down here, why would I decide to go on this hard and painful walk? It's costly. It's heavy. It's a thing people don't understand. Everyone go to Luke. Luke chapter 14. Luke chapter 14. Luke chapter 14. And we can start from verse 26. Luke chapter 14. We start from verse 26. And this is Jesus talking about the cost of being a disciple. If you want to be my disciple, You must, by comparison, hate everyone else. Your father, your mother, your wife, your children, your brothers, your sisters. Yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. And if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there's enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at the building and that you couldn't afford to finish. Or what king would go to war against another king without first sitting down with his counselors to discuss whether his army of 10,000 could defeat 20,000 soldiers marching against him? And if he can't, he will send a delegation to discuss terms of peace while his enemy is still far away. So you cannot become my disciple without giving away everything that you owe. Salt is good for seasoning, but it loses its flavor. How do you make it salty again? Flavorless salt is good neither for soil nor for manure pile. It is thrown away. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. I look at that verse, and I'm going to paint what that kind of cost looks like with some of the things that, like some facts about what it takes to climb a mountain, right? To begin, at the base level, before you can climb to Everest, it's about a 3,000 meter trek to get to base camp. Before you can climb the mountain, 3,000 meters to get there. And people also don't talk about how expensive it is. Before you're even allowed to take that trek to climb, you have to petition the government. You have to get guides around you to help you. You have to petition the people around you, the people who are native to the land, who are experienced with the mountains, to help you climb it. And then you have to pay out of pocket $45,000 to $100,000 minimum just to have the right to climb, right? And that doesn't even cover that the climb itself, the elevation and the constant climb of Everest is about 3 weeks. You have to go up, down, up, down, up, down consistently and constantly so your body can get acclimated. Obsession. In this verse, Jesus is painting a picture that by comparison to the love we're supposed to have for him, the obsession that we are supposed to have for Christ, we hate everything else. By comparison to the love that we are called to have for Christ, everything else around us is supposed to be nothing. Nothing. And obviously he's speaking in hyperbole when he's saying you should hate your mother and father. We don't hate anyone, right? We're called to respect them. We're called to love our brothers and sisters, correct? But when he says this, he's speaking in the sense of comparison. Your love and your obsession should allow you to climb and to move forward across this mountain. It should drive you so far up, you will forego everything in life. Even your own life, you will give it up because it doesn't matter to you. You don't care about holding on to this thing, right? It's a narrow walk. Why would you try to hold? You can't walk a narrow path with 1,000,000 pounds of baggage. You have to let go before you can start climbing, right? That's why climbers will always try to keep as light as possible. They will forego everything. And when you see documentaries of these people, they'll have wife and kids. They'll have full families. They'll have a whole social network standing for them, waiting for them at base camp. Their wife will be there, or their husband will be there, waiting for them, just waiting for them to come back. And they will look at their wife in the eyes, or their husband in the eyes, and still go up. They'll see everything that they leave behind, and because they are so obsessed, they are so in love with this thing, they will forego what they have here. Their love, their drive to this is so grand. They don't care about what they have to leave behind. Because this path is narrow, they're okay to drop all this baggage. They're okay to drop everything in spite of this. And that's one thing that's beautiful. We have to understand that our love and our obsession for Christ should trump these things that we have. Because these things are gifts. Everything that we have here is a gift. We have gifts that we are given on earth. We are obviously called to be blessed. We will have things on this world. We're called, in Ecclesiastes, it calls us to enjoy this world, to enjoy good drink, good food. It calls us to enjoy life, right? But the second we start forgetting how obsessed we are supposed to be with Christ, we lose ourselves, right? These people will forego everything. They will save up every last dime just to get a permit to climb because they don't care. They care only to see that peak. And then they don't even care about their life being lost in them. Some of these mountains, especially in the 8,000 meter range, which is mainly it's mainly from Nepal, China, and India. There's China and India and Pakistan. There are 8,000 meter peaks. These are the tallest in the world. They're the most technical. These ones, people will devote their whole lives to training towards. They're every last dollar and dime. They don't care because they're so obsessed with what it means to climb. They're so obsessed with how beautiful and how much they want to capture that peak. They're so obsessed with the climb itself that they will forego these things that they love, right? That is what we're called to have. We put Christ at the head of everything that we do, because if we are going to climb this, and if we're going to move on this walk, this narrow path, and we're just going to try to juggle a million things while still trying to walk and go closer to God, how are we going to walk down this narrow path? How are we going to walk down with all this stuff around us? How are we going to climb our mountain to see this peak of Christ? How are we going to do that if we don't understand that we have to forego this stuff? We can't climb if we're carrying the world behind us. We have to let go of it so that we can move. That's why when he says you will hate your mother and father in comparison, I look at it as him telling us to be obsessed with Christ, right? And obsession is a beautiful thing. The world likes its version of obsession. They like these mentalities and like the David Goggins to be like, you got to push yourself, you got to do these things, put yourself out, like do everything that you can to get up. They like the idea of it. But they like it for monetary or personal gain. They don't like the idea of something that's self-sacrificatory. They don't like the idea that you will give up something of your own so that you can grow closer to something. And that comes with understanding that a love of Christ. We have to love Christ as well. People will give their whole life to something off of love. Obsession is a powerful thing. It's what makes you do something consistently. It's what allows you to consistently climb, to consistently move forward. But the thing that sparks that, the thing that keeps you going, is love. People like to have one or the other, but they don't like to mix them because it's hard to mix them. When I think of love, I think of it in the perspective of Christ dying for us. He did it out of a love for us. He did it out of a love and a care for us, that he cares for us so much that he can die for us. And I look at that and I see, how can I apply that to my life? And I think the love we are supposed to have for Christ is supposed to compel us to him at all times, right? Climbers, when you are arriving at the peak of a climb, you will begin to hit a zone called the death zone, around 8,000, 7,500, 8,000 meters. It's called the death zone. At that point, you only have about a 12-hour window to climb, because if you keep going, your brain is in a constant state of hemorrhaging. You stay longer than 12 hours, you're guaranteed death. Guaranteed. And these climbers will look at that. They'll look at all the hardship. They'll understand that even after you reach the peak, the most dangerous part of a climb is getting back down. They'll understand how daunting this task is, and they'll do it regardless because they love this so much. They're obsessed, yes, that keeps them stepping forward. That's a very powerful thing. When Christ tells us to be obsessed and to strive after him, we look at that and we look at it with blessing. But love is also important in that, right? Love is very important in the sense that it can help us. Love helps us stay with this, even when our obsession wavers, right? Faith is not used when you're at your peak. Faith is not used when everything is going right for you. It's used when you're in the gutter. Faith is for when you can't feel that he's there to help you. You don't feel his hand there. It's in that moment that your faith is there to grow. James chapter 1, verse 2-4. It is in those moments that your faith has an opportunity to grow, right? That's why when I look at love and when I look at the love that is prescribed to us in Luke 14, he says, love me. You love me. Love me so much that you don't care about anything else. Love me. Usain Bolt's whole career was about 13 years. It took about 13 years for him to train with all the allotted time. But if you took his individual run time and put it all together, it'd be around 8 to 10 minutes. He loved what he did. He was so obsessed with what he did, he gave 13 years of his life for 8 to 10 minutes. 13 years he gave so he could have 8 to 10 minutes of opportunity. He gave everything so that he could have this. That he could have this moment. That he could have any moment. And that's what we are called to do, right? We're supposed to be so obsessed with the Lord that in the opportunity that we have to be a guide for someone else, in those moments that we have to show someone to this peak, to allow them to start petitioning so that they can climb, so that they can receive this grace and they can move. We are called to be so prepared, to be so well-versed of this walk, this mountain, so that we can help them. And that leads me to my next thing. When you understand obsession and love, it can make sense that it can propel you forward in your walk, but it will not stop suffering from coming. Everyone go to James chapter 1. I was talking about it, but everyone go to James chapter 1. James chapter 1. James chapter 1. James chapter 1, we can start from verse 2. Okay? And before I get into it, I think, this is a little tangent, a little side note. We've read this verse a lot in this church. We've read it a lot. If you look on our past sermons that we've taught on Fridays and Sundays, we've read this verse a lot. And I can speak this to you from what I've learned, especially through reading. Reread the same stuff a lot. Read everything that you read as many times as you can. Keep reading the same. If you've read the whole Bible, read it again, and then read it again, because you will constantly get something new each time, right? We've read this verse many times, and every time I read it, a new revelation comes to me, because I'm not in the same position I was last. I reread the Gospels constantly because new things are illuminated to me. It's a living word. It's a living word because no matter where, depending on where I am in my life, it will mean something to me. It will mean something different to me. So we're going to read this verse, but read it constantly. Constantly read. Keep going back to the same stuff, constantly. We'll start from verse 2. It's James chapter 1, verse 2. We'll start from there. Dear brothers and sisters, when trouble of any kind comes your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy, for you have a chance to grow. So let it grow, for your endurance is fully. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. I'm going to read this verse in relation to suffering and a revelation that came to me. I am blessed to have spiritual guides in my life, right? To take it back to the mountain thing, when you were petitioning to climb a mountain, right? Petitioning to the government, they give you a permit, so that's like grace. And then you are supposed to get spiritual guides of that area. People are not spiritual guides, literal guides of that area who are well-versed in the mountains themselves. They're called Sherpas. They're people who are indigenous to the area. They have climbed it since they were children. They understand the mountains. So after you are petitioned, you are allowed to climb, you have to go to those people and they have to climb with you so that they can show you the way, right? And I was blessed with great spiritual guides. Me? I was blessed with people with Mickey, Almi, Kenna, Lucci. I was blessed with these people who were able to give me revelation in new ways that I don't even understand at the time, right? And this thing that came to me was from a conversation that I had with Lucci. It's like 2 years ago, right? It was at the river worship. I remember I turned to him and I said, I really like the pastor there. His name is Ryan McVeany, I think it is. I like his work. I like the way he teaches, right? And Lucci had turned to me and said, how old are you? I said, at the time I was 16. He said to me, I can tell you're getting better, but as you get older, it will become even better than it is now, right? As you grow older, your sermons will become better because it will become more seasoned with the things that you have went through, right? And this is what really helped make sense of certain things in relation to my life. I have to start looking at suffering not as just hardship that I struggle through so that my faith can grow. I look at it as a way for me to have an opportunity to have seasoning so that when I talk to someone, I can grow with them. I have this thing that I went through in my past so that now I can talk to them in a way that is fruitful to them, right? If you're in a kitchen, they're supposed to have a large arraignment of seasonings, so that no matter who comes in, they can always have something that fits to someone's palate. And from that, I was really able to discern that the suffering that we go through is the seasoning that the Bible talks about. Everyone go to Colossians. Colossians chapter 4. Colossians chapter 4, verse 6. Let your conversations be gracious and seasoned with salt, so that you will have the right to a right response for everyone. When I read that and when I understood what Lucci was saying to me in relation to the things that I went through in my life, it started to make sense to me. The things that we go through are blessings. The struggles that I go through, I can look at it as a blessing because the next time I'm talking to someone, the next time I'm trying to bring someone to Christ, I have this experience that I went through so that I can understand to them. My conversation with them, the thing that I'm speaking to them, it can be seasoned. It can be a thing that fits them, right? We are all called at one point to help bring people to Christ, all of us. That's part of the Great Commission, right? And in that, every time we talk to someone new, that person is going to have their own personal experiences and the things that they went through. Everyone has a different life and a different circumstances that might have pulled them away from Christ or might have led them down the path that they're on now. But because of the suffering that I went through, because of these situations that God put me in so that I can go stronger, that my faith can grow, that I can grow from, I am now able to season this so that I can be effective to them, right? I think of it like a chef's cabinet. Because I went through a time where I was broke, the time where I had no money in my pocket, the next time I'm talking to a brother or sister who's going through financial struggle, it's like oregano. I can back it out and season my conversation with them. The next time I go through a hard moment, like let's say I struggle with lust, or I struggle with suicidal ideation, or I struggle with these things that weigh me down, I have seasoning in my cabinet every time I overcome them. And we always overcome them with Christ. I have seasoning in my cabinet that I can use the next time. When you climb Everest, there's this thing, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it's like a road it's like a colorful road, basically. It's a path that you have to go through to reach the peak. And people, I'm pretty sure it's called like Rainbow Road, no Mario Kart, but it's basically an area of colorful steps that people understand as markers for when you climb. And those markers, those colorful flashes or stones are actually dead people's jackets. They're people who died climbing, and people use those as markers, right? We have to realize that the Bible was given to us as markers, different things that people went through, so that even if we didn't go through that time, we can still have these stories, this living word, so that we have that seasoning in our repertoire. We have that thing in our life, right? Even though I haven't killed no one, but because I can read stories of murderers and adulterers and lusters, I can read these stories of these people who went through these things. I can take what they went through and learn from it, even if I didn't personally go through it. Even if I didn't go through that time, I didn't have to go through that pain, that anger. And even though in those moments that I did, all of those can be used by me so that I can understand it, I can season these conversations, right? All my conversations are seasoned with the salt of those who fell before me. I'm able to climb and to show people where to climb based off of my mistakes, where I misstepped, where I fell off a little bit, and where the people before me fell before. I use their markers as things I can grow off of. This Bible is beautiful because in suffering, we can look to this for answers. And after we have reached victory, after we have found what Christ is showing us through our suffering, we can look to this word and we can look to our own, what we have gone through and have new seasoning for the next person that we're talking to. It's beautiful. And I look at that and I thank the Lord for giving us this word, and I thank him for giving us this climb that we have in everything, right? I thank him for giving us this climb because in that we are now able to truly have something that connects us, that tethers us. We are spiritual guides for the next person. We bring people to Christ. And as we do, we now have reason behind our suffering. We now have something that we get up for and that we strive for in all things that centers our lives. In that love and obsession for Christ, we have centering. We have a purpose that defines us to the day we die. Even when a mountaineer can't climb anymore, when an Olympic sprinter can't sprint anymore, when a basketball player can no longer play, even after their career is done, they're still that. They're still remembered for that. Even beyond the things that they went through, through their martyrdom, through Christians' martyrdom, we are remembered and we have reverence in the fact that we live this life, right? that God exalts himself through us, and he exalts us with that. It's beautiful. That's the glory that we receive. We don't receive the big glory. We don't receive the glory that, oh, we saved people, we did this, we did that. We receive it in the sense that people are blessed because we decided to love and obey Christ in all things. And our suffering has purpose because we decided to follow him in all things. That's my lesson, though.